Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday Recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. When it comes to EVE Online, I played decently well in the first half of the week, got a little bit of exploration done, so that's been really nice. I am mostly though looking forward to more updates on the Chaos era. It's been like a little bit quiet. We are getting a new patch coming out, a new update for August next week, but all I really saw there is that we'll get some sort of Triglavian scouts that will be aggressive as well. Interesting if they're not too hard to get rid of, and they actually might yield a nice little reward with either the salvaging or perhaps some LP from Concord or something like that. It could be worth it to take a look at those as well, but overall it's been decently quiet on the changes that CCP wants to bring to the game, so we'll have to wait and see, and I am definitely basically a little bit in a holding pattern when it comes to that. I need to make a little bit more time for EVE in the upcoming weeks, I think, and I will try to do that. But for now I've been doing a little bit of exploration. I kept up with my PI, that's going really well actually, and I found out after all these years of doing PI, what I find to be really interesting is that the markings are definitely not ideal. And so what I've been doing in the last couple of days is line up all of my extractors and then just keep an eye on the amounts, and it actually makes a big difference. It's not optimal to pour everything on the spot that your scanner says is the hotspot. So yeah, I'm trying to basically up my my PI production without having to put in any extra effort, and also keeping the balance is sometimes difficult. For instance, a couple of my planets end up full of water where I'm making coolants because I don't get enough ionic solutions, and I'm not one to go and start tweaking that every single day. So yeah, a little bit of attention on my PI. Also my blueprint copy business, although that is just going really well, really easily. I make 4 Orca BPCs every single week. That's like 15 million on average. I would say I can pretty easily sell them for that price. And then the smallest structure BPCs I also make of those once a week, and that means that I get like 3 Astraeus BPCs and 2 of the others, and those then sell. Well, it really depends. Sometimes they go down to like 2.9 million. I think that's pretty much the lowest price, but sometimes they also sell for 12, 9, 12 and up in price. So very good time at the moment still for me for the BPCs. It's very steady and very easy income, and yeah, looking forward to whatever is going to happen in EVE next so that we can go and take a look at that. Next up we have a little bit of Dota Underlords as well. I think I'm starting to wind down on that game, to be honest. I mean, it is still in full development, and the latest patch has made some really interesting changes. It definitely feels like the games are faster at this point, and you get a sort of a free store gamble every few rounds, so that there is a much better chance of you to get tier 2 and even tier 3 heroes. I'm seeing a lot more of those, but the game has one really big drawback in my opinion, that is that it is very dependent on RNG. You have to be somewhat lucky in the heroes that you get lined up, and then choose the right ones to win the game, to just have a chance to win the game. It is not easy to basically become better at the game, because you're so dependent on what shows up on your screen and what RNGs offers you. There are still some really overpowered heroes as well. I think Slark is in a league of his own, still a very solid choice, especially if you have an item that gives him life stealing, and they don't kill him right away in his first engagement. Then Slark becomes an unstoppable machine that can basically kill 4 or 5 heroes all on his own if he gets to his full speed. That's a little bit unfair. I think that needs to be looked at. And then there's some others, but really he jumps out to me personally as being very overpowered compared to the rest. When it comes to the synergies, I think it is a little bit better at this point, but there you get that problem almost immediately with games that have such mechanics, is that the meta is discovered really quickly and shared through the internet at such a speed that it's almost impossible to keep these kinds of games very interesting for very long, at least for me personally. I mean, you can try to make something happen with elusive, but then you need 9 elusives to really get everything out of that bonus, which is very difficult to do. So it's a game that's in full development. That is somewhat fun to play, but it clearly has some limits that I don't really enjoy for a longer term. I would say the gamble mechanic, you could say. Basically, you're really dependent on chance in order to progress in the game, and then of course the fact that the meta tends to be very stale very quickly, which is a big drawback in my opinion as well. So what are we going to do then? Well, I am going to take a look at another game, and I got started with that, although I have a couple of videos that still have priority over this. I bought X4 Foundations at the full price. It's got mixed to bad reviews on Steam, but so far, for me personally, I have enjoyed my time in X4 Foundations. It is a huge sandbox for you alone to try and discover what you enjoy doing in there. The start is still very difficult, I would say. I spent 4, 5, maybe even 6 hours just learning the very basics of the game, and I'm not much further than that. I still have a huge amount of stuff to discover, like building stations. I need to get my teleporter somehow from somewhere. Really don't know how that works, but yeah, not easy. Lots of controls, just like EVE Online. Lots of windows to learn, lots of right clicking, lots of sub menus, lots of things that are not super intuitive, but overall, for me, outside of one major problem when it comes to one load game, basically I came through a teleporter inside a station and then I ended up underneath the floor, so there was one technical problem, but other than that it's worked remarkably well. I mean, the game's been out for a while, so it should be quite a bit more stable, and you know, being on the ground in a station, being able to just walk in your ship, get in your cockpit, undock and fly out into space anywhere is really impressive. I am actually very impressed by X4 myself. I discovered crystal mining a little bit later then. You don't need a mining ship for that. I thought, well, we're gonna try to get by on some missions and things like that, but those can be very difficult. And then I discovered that you can just shoot at some crystals, and then if you find some white ones, you get a couple million, just like that. So that was basically what got me through my early getting started problems, in order to like buy a couple of ships, to get some auto miners, to get some auto traders, things like that. I think I'm almost at the point where I start to feel comfortable to invest in my own ship to try and get a better ship for myself. But yeah, X4 Foundations, I am definitely going to make some videos on that, and so far I am having a lot of fun with that game. It's going to demand quite a bit of time for me to really make progress in that. It is another sandboxy experience, so we'll see how I divide my time between X4 and EVE Online at this point. And then perhaps I'll also talk a little bit about my plans, because later this month we will have World of Warcraft Classic. I will take a look at that. I'm planning to go with Bovo, and he has some friends lined up that are going to try and start characters on, well, a completely fresh situation. That is what's most appealing there. I think everyone starts again at a starting line, and you can, you know, try to make your way through another World of Warcraft experience if you want to. In all likelihood, we'll be going Horde, and then I'll probably take a Priest, just to take a completely different type of gameplay from what I've experienced before. So it could be interesting. I'm definitely going to give that a fair chance. And after that, later on, there's also the Destiny 2 that is going to become free to play and comes to Steam. That is something that I'm very likely to take a look at as well. And yeah, that was my last week in games and my plans for the upcoming months. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and as always, I'll see you next time.